are cash-secured puts worth it? At Ground Truth, we take a money strategy somebody is selling you, and we test it on real prices. Today it is selling put options for income. You promise to buy a stock at a set price, and somebody pays you cash up front for that promise. We simulated 311 of those promises, one a week for 6 years, on real prices. The answer up front: the income is real, and it's still lost to simply owning the fund, 6 tests out of 6. Here is the pair that got us there. Same weeks, same rule, same fund. Sellers of puts kept 42 cents a share a week. Sellers of the opposite contract lost 72. 3 questions. Keep them. 1. Where does the premium actually live? 2. Is it enough to beat just holding the fund? 3. Does waiting for the fattest premium make it better? And one question I am not going to answer until the very end. If the income is real, why does it lose? This is the audit of selling puts for income. This is Ground Truth. Quick note. This is education and entertainment, not advice. We test ideas. We don't tell you what to do. You get paid to wait. You get paid whether it goes up, sideways, or barely down. Free money. That pitch is not stupid, and this episode grants more of it than you expect. 2 words. First, because the whole video is a comparison between them. A put is the promise we just described. You agree to buy at a set price, called the strike price. A call is the mirror image. There you promise to sell at a set price. Same cash up front, opposite direction. Those are the 2 sides of the trade, and which side pays better is question 1. One more thing about the money. The cash you park to back that promise is the same cash you would have used to buy the fund. You are not doing this alongside owning it. You are doing it instead. And the word everyone uses and nobody defines. Premium is the cash the buyer hands you. It arrives the moment you sell. It is yours, whatever happens next. If the stock falls below your strike price, you are assigned. The promise comes due and you buy the shares. That is not a malfunction. That is the product working exactly as written. Before any of this ran, we wrote down what would count as a win. That document is dated and locked. Beat simply owning the fund, or the strategy is dead. 6 versions of the strategy, 6 chances at that bar. Hold that bar. Every number from here is one of those 6 walking toward it. And the first one arrives now, because question 1 can be answered before the study is finished. The pitch says the put side is where the fat premium lives. So we looked at the sticker price. Same weeks, same fund, same nearest price rule. The puts quoted at 0.87% of the share price. The calls quoted at 0.89. The puts were cheaper. On the sticker, the pitch is wrong. Then we counted what was left at the end of each week, after the promises came due. Puts, plus 42 cents a share. Calls, minus 72. The cheaper side paid. The dearer side bled. That is the first thing worth carrying out, and it has a name. Call it the sticker gap. The premium you are quoted is not the premium you keep. Why is our reading, not our measurement? The likely explanation is that people buying protection against a fall pay more for it than the falls turned out to cost. That is an inference. The 42 and the 72 are the measurement. So, where does the premium live? On this fund, on the put side, in what you keep rather than what you are quoted. That is question 1 answered. Score check. 6 arms in the study, none killed yet, 6 years on the clock. That was the good news. Here is the turn. A strategy that makes money is not automatically worth doing. It has to beat what you would have done instead, and what you would have done instead was own the fund with that same cash. This is where the right picture stops being income. When you sell a put, you are not collecting a paycheck. You are writing an insurance policy. Somebody is worried their fund will fall. You take their money and promise to cover them if it does. You are running an insurance book, and an insurance book has one rule a paycheck does not. The premiums come in every week, and the claims come in all at once. So we ran the book. 6 years, real prices, sold at the bid, the worst of the 2 prices you are shown, which is the one you would actually get. Commissions charged, receipts on screen. Selling the put every week returned 56.9% over those 6 years. Owning the fund and doing nothing returned 193.7%. 7.8% a year against 19.8%. 2 honesties about that comparison, and both matter. The first goes in the strategy's favor. The book was calmer. Its deepest fall from a peak, its drawdown, was 23.6% against the fund's 35.6%. Its swings, what the trade calls volatility, ran about half the funds. If you wanted a smoother ride, you bought one. The second cuts against us. A short put is not the same bet as owning the fund. It keeps the downside and gives away the upside, so this is not a like-for-like race. We run it anyway, because income instead of holding is the pitch on trial, and we wrote that comparison down before we ran anything. And corrected for the calmer ride, the book still loses. Return per unit of swing was 0.72 against the fund's 0.91. Then the wheel. That is the version where you keep going after assignment. You buy the shares, then sell a call against them until they are taken away, then start over. 6 years of that produced 70 assignments and 70 callaways, 70 complete round trips. It finished at 65.8% against the same 193.7. The wheel turned for 6 years and produced a half-in, half-out version of owning the fund, minus the upside it kept giving away. So, is the premium enough to beat just holding? No, not on either version. That is question 2, answered. Score check. 6 arms, 2 of them killed, and the 2 you have seen are both on the index fund. 2 results left, and they are the ones that changed how we read this whole family. Everything so far is an index, a fund holding hundreds of companies, so we ran the identical book on a single volatile stock, where the premiums are much fatter. That arm covers about 5 years rather than 6. The stock had not been listed long enough. Fatter is not a figure of speech. As a share of the stock price, that single name paid 2.35% a week against the index's 0.87, nearly 3 times as rich, measured the same way. 3 times the premium. Now we're talking. After the claims came due, the option book on that stock netted minus 11 cents a share a week. Be precise about what lost. The option book lost about $29 a share over the 5 years. The account itself still finished up 5.9% because the parked cash was earning interest the whole time. The insurance was underwater. The savings account carried it. That is the insurance book losing money. A premium is not income. It is the price of a risk. When the risk is bigger than the price, a fatter premium means you are being paid more to lose. And now, the finding that cost this episode its tidiest sentence. On that single stock, the put side was not the better side. Sellers of puts lost 11 cents a week. Sellers of calls lost 7. The comparison reverses. Our pre-registration asked that question of both instruments and got 2 different answers. On the index, it came back mixed, and on the single stock, it came back rejected. So the honest statement of question 1 is narrower than the one I gave you earlier. On the index, the premium lives on the put side. On a single volatile name, it does not live there at all. Last result. The obvious fix, once you have seen all that, is to be selective. Sell only when the premium is rich. So we tested exactly that. Sell only in the top quarter of weeks by how expensive the options were, and sit and cash the rest. And if you are paying attention, you are about to catch me changing a number, so let me say it before you do. Being selective means waiting for a warm-up, a stretch of history long enough to know what expensive even means for this fund. That stretch is not tradable, so the selective version starts later and runs shorter. Which means the only fair comparison is against the plain every-week version over that same shorter stretch, not against the 6-year number I gave you earlier. Comparing across 2 different stretches would flatter whichever one held the better market. Matched like that, selling only in the richest weeks returned 19.6%. Selling every week returned 43.8%. Being selective cut the result roughly in half. On the single stock, matched the same way, it changed almost nothing, 34.5% against 33.3%. Our reading of why, a reading, not a measurement, is that the weeks this insurance is most expensive are the weeks the market is most frightened, and frightened weeks are when the claims arrive. The fat premium is not a bargain. It is the market pricing a risk correctly just before that risk shows up. Third name, the rich premium trap. The weeks the premium looks fattest are the weeks the claims come due. So, does waiting for the fattest premium make it better? No. On the index, it made it worse by about half, and on the single stock, it made no difference. That is question 3 answered. Now the question I would ask if I were you. These 6 years were mostly a rising market. A strategy that gives away the upside was always going to look bad in one. So how much of what you just watched is a finding, and how much is the weather we happen to test in? Our 2 results do not get the same answer, and I would rather separate them than let them share the credit. The kill, selling puts loss to owning the fund, is weather exposed, and we said so in the pre-registration before we ran anything. This window is the hardest possible backdrop for this strategy. In a long falling market, the comparison could look different, and we cannot tell you by how much. The premium location finding is less weather exposed because it compares puts against calls on the same weeks, on the same fund, under the same rule. A week that was good or bad for the market was good or bad for both sides at once. Less exposed is not immune, and our own data proves it. That comparison already reversed once, on the single stock, where the falls were real. Whatever it is measuring, it is not a law. So carry the second one further than the first, and carry it with its address attached, on an index. In this window, the put side kept more. That is a narrower sentence than the one I opened with, and it is the one the evidence supports. The bar we set before any of this ran beat simply owning the fund, or the strategy is dead. 6 chances at it. Final score, 6 arms, 6 kills, 0 cleared the bar. And the answer to the question I held back. If the income is real, why does it lose? Because a promise to buy has no share in the rise. You keep the whole fall, and you cap the climb, and over 6 years the climb is where the money was. It did not die of a bad edge, it died of missing upside. Now, the parts we did not test. We tested 2 instruments, not a whole market. That is the tightest limit on this study. We tested 1 construction, weekly, nearest price, sold at the bid, not every strike, not every expiry. And we did not test the version a professional desk would run, where the share price risk is hedged away and only the insurance is kept. That is a different instrument, and it is the one we most want to see. One more, and it points against us. We assumed the assignments settled in cash, with no cost to trade the shares. Real life is worse than that. Our kill is the polite version. Are cash-secured puts worth it? Here is what the evidence supports. The income is real, and it cost more than it paid, and what it cost was the part of the market that actually went up. 3 things to carry, and they are the 3 we named. The sticker gap. The premium you are quoted is not the premium you keep. Ask what is left after the promises come due, not what arrives on Monday. The insurance book. You are not being paid income. You are being paid to carry somebody else's risk. Price the claims, not the checks. The rich premium trap. When the premium looks unusually good, that is, our reading of a market pricing, a risk, not a market making a mistake. And the honest place to leave it. This is the first strategy in this family we have tested that had a real edge inside it. We went looking for a fake and found something better than a fake and worse than a business, and then found the edge reverse on the second instrument we pointed it at. That is where the record stands today. Real. Positive. Not enough. Here is what would change our mind, and it is a live bet. Run the version that strips out the share price risk and keeps only the insurance. The form a desk would actually trade, on the same bid prices and the same commissions. If it beats owning the fund once you account for the calmer ride, we publish it and say so. And the second bet our pre-registration already placed, when a long falling market gives us the data, we run this again. That is the test this window could not give us. Somebody is selling you the wheel this week. Now you know which number to ask them for. This is ground truth. The machine is always hungry,